open the gate. Super Crow stands loud, proud, and true, building tomorrow for me and you.
Welcome, everyone. I am so excited. I look forward to this all quarter long. This is the highlight of each quarter for us, where tonight is our live pitch event with, we have some phenomenal entrepreneurs this time. Great judges. I'm excited to share that with you. Let me just make a note of caution real quickly here. Bear with me.
This program on investing under regulation crowdfunding is not investment advice. The presenters aren't financial advisors, so attendees should conduct their own research and consult professionals. Investing carries risks without guaranteed returns. Your investment decisions are your own. Seek qualified advice for personal financial queries.
I really am excited to share, what's going on with us tonight. This is such a fun event that we have here. And let me just take a minute to introduce. We've got four great companies. We've got 3 Squared Biosciences, Bond, Earthgrid, and Hearthstone Farm. All of these are great companies with tremendous potential for impact, and really, I'm excited to see what they're doing, and I'm excited to share their stories with you tonight. I want to thank our producer, Chandan Saha. Chandan has been with me for a decade, and he is genuinely a phenomenal human being who works really hard, and he's here with us behind the scenes tonight, making everything work, and I want to thank him. I want to acknowledge our 3 judges. We have really just phenomenal people here who are going to be doing the judging, and Tawana Rivers is really a very experienced investor. She is the CEO of the 10K Project, and she really is an expert. The 10K Project invests actively, especially in Black founders. So she really knows what she's doing. We're thrilled as well to have Florence Hardy with us. Now, Florence is an attorney, entrepreneur, and investor who helps entrepreneurs with their crowdfunding campaigns, invests actively in crowdfunding campaigns, and runs her own business on top of it. She really is an unstoppable powerhouse person. We're thrilled to have her. And then we also have from King's Crowd, we have Leah Beaulier-Cadreau. And Leah, forgive me for butchering your name. I do my best. But Leah is one of the team at King's Crowd, one of the leading companies in the crowdfunding space, and her job is to do due diligence on the companies that have social impact. So she scrutinizes them not only for their impact, but also for their economics, and her guidance is key to the investment strategy of the King's Crowd Fund. So she too is a professional investor. We are thrilled to have the 3 of them join us today. And this is going to be great. We're going to take a quick pause here. And when we come back, we'll get started with our first entrepreneur at 3 Squared Biosciences.
America's Main Street businesses need capital that Crowdfund Main Street understands perfectly. CEO Michelle Timish will guide you through your raise. Visit crowdfundmainstreet.com to launch your success.
Imagine a world where your investments empower innovative founders, drive sustainable change, and transform communities. At Funding Hope, we connect investors with businesses that prioritize sustainable development in their community. Be an investor with impact at fundinghope.com.
Digital Niche Agency is the top investor acquisition agency. DNA has helped founders raise over 9 figures via regulated investment crowdfunding with a 3-pronged strategy using digital advertising, content marketing, and strategic outreach. Book a call today.
All righty. I'm excited to kick this off. Our first entrepreneur is with 3 3 Squared Biosciences. Peter Farmakis is the CEO and founder of the organization. He's an experienced executive in life sciences spanning biotech, diagnostics, and medical devices. He has held leadership roles at J&J, Abbott, and led successful exits for startups. Peter holds an MBA from the University of Illinois and completed the general management program at Northwestern's Kellogg School. As you know, one of the most elite schools in the country. And with that, let me bring Peter onto the stage here alone. Let's see, where did I put you, Peter? Got a big group today. You got to be a little bit patient with the live show and the implications of having 8 or 9 of us in the room. All righty, Peter.
Hi, Devin.
Have you got your slides where you want them?
Yes,
or can I help
I'll
you
pull
get
them
them
up
there?
right now. All set.
Okay. All righty.
Hi, my name is Peter Farmakis, and I'm the CEO of 3 Squared Biosciences. 3 Squared Biosciences is a leader in gut microbiome science. We're developing diagnostic management tools and microbiome-based interventions to prevent and treat disease. Your gut microbiome is a vital organ, yet doctors rely on tests and assessments to define the functional health of vital organs like your brain, your heart, your kidneys. But there's no quantitative physician tools available to measure the functional health of your gut microbiome. An unhealthy gut microbiome is linked to a large number of chronic diseases. It's a $1.5 trillion economic healthcare burden to the US annually for the diseases of neurodegenerative diseases, Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, cardiovascular, hypertension, atherosclerosis, metabolic diseases like obesity, diabetes, non-alcoholic fatty liver diseases, and gastrointestinal diseases like inflammatory bowel disease and colorectal cancer. While that's a very large problem for the US, where it really hits home is when it hits you on a personal level, either you yourself or one of your loved ones. And if we can get in front of this and understand how to measure and proactively address the health of the gut microbiome, you can prolong or prevent diseases like my grandma Audrey had of Alzheimer's, or like my grandfather George had of colorectal cancer. And so that's what we're focused on here at 3 Squared Biosciences. And when I say we, I really mean myself plus our 3 scientific co-founders, Dr. Jean Chang, Dr. Joe Pierre, and Dr. John Alverdi. They spent their careers raising significant non-dilutive funding via grants and helping the University of Chicago bring in major donations that contributed to $319 million in total that led to the development of our 2 platform technologies. Now, this money did not go directly into 3 Squared Biosciences, but without this money, the $109 million in grants from the NIH through the Chang Lab and the $100 million donation from Duchessois Family Institute, our GB1 platform technology would not exist. And the same for the Alverdi Lab, working with the Pritzker School of Molecular Engineering to build the CS platform technology number 2. Our company's focused on the gut microbial organ. We're focused on preventing disease. If you look to the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see that our GB platform technology is a technology where we've defined the health of the gut microbiome via diagnostic management tools to measure the functional health of the gut microbiome. The platform has produced 5 total assets products, and I'll be sharing with you the lead asset, GB1, focused on IBS here today. And then our CS platform technology is helping us to restore the health of the gut microbiome. And I'll be sharing with you not all 8 products that it's produced, but the lead asset, CS3. Our GB platform has produced GB1. It's designed to precisely and quantitatively measure the health of your gut microbiome. Simply put, your doctor writes a prescription, you provide a stool sample, and we run the tests at our lab, and it gives you a result. The analog to this would be if you're familiar with Cologuard. That's what it looks like on the front end. On the back end, it looks something along the lines of what you get when you get a blood draw done and you get the results back of your cholesterol test. They tell you if your cholesterol is high or low, and then they drive a layer deeper to say whether it's your LDL or your HDL, whether you're in range or out of range. We're doing the same thing to define the health of your gut microbiome. We have 20 metabolic reference ranges that we have established that are 95% or greater representative of your whole gut microbiome. The GB1 market opportunity focused on IBS patient population as our lead asset has a total market opportunity of 10.4 billion with a peak year sales forecast of 2.2 billion. And then our second platform technology. So on the front end, we're addressing the health. And on the back end, we're modulating the gut microbiome to prevent disease. Our lead asset, CS3, is focused on surgical site infections. And it has three-pronged mechanism of action to coat the GI barrier, to make the bad bacteria stay happy and the good bacteria to grow or proliferate. This technology is a powder-based formula mixed with water that'll be taken 3 days before and 3 days after your surgery. This market is also very large, a $9 billion market, peak year sales forecast of 3.6 billion. The team that we've put together to execute on this is myself with both J&J and Abbott experiences, as well as 4 startups prior, 2 med device, 2 biotechs, both biotechs were successful exits. Brian Yor, the former CFO of Abbott Laboratories, Jaime Contreras, the former global head of commercial operations at Abbott Laboratories, and our head of strategy and business development, Dr. Patrick Hennessy, alongside of our 3 scientific founders, Dr. John Elverdi, Dr. Jean Chang, and Dr. Joe Pierre. We also have significant partners, both on the medicine side as well as the business side. And our investment opportunity is the emerging field of gut microbiome medicine. And really, with your investment, you have the potential to transform our healthcare system. We're currently raising $3 million. The use of proceeds, the way we use proceeds at 3 Squared Biosciences is we use grant funding, of which we received a $2.3 million STTR Fast Track and $400,000 grant. And we use that from moving from research and development to proof of concept. And then on the investor capital side, we use the money from proof of concept all the way through FDA approval to clearance. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
We're excited to bring our judges to the stage now, and we'll turn them loose. Tawana, why don't you get started? Tawana, you're muted. Sorry about that.
There you go. Sorry about that. Well done, Peter. My first question for you is, what are the primary risks facing the business and how are you mitigating those risks?
Yeah, I think the primary risk is that all of our technologies so far that we're bringing forward require an FDA clearance or an FDA approval. So it's very high risk, high reward. One of the ways we're mitigating that is we don't just have one single product. We have platform technologies, and each of the platform technologies has multiple chances of success. That's one way that we're mitigating the big risk.
Very good. Thank you.
Let me pause right now just to tell our audience that if you have a question, you can ask a question. Shannon, if you wouldn't mind, pop that question up again at s4g.biz/question. Or if you're watching on YouTube or watching on Facebook or LinkedIn, you can ask questions there. Because of the regulatory context of an event like this, our pitching companies won't be talking about deal terms, but you can find those on their offering pages. So you can visit each to learn more about the offering, including things like valuation and other deal terms. But we are grateful that you're all here. Florence, why don't you go next?
Sure. Thanks, Devin. My question is regarding your target customer. So do you sell directly to doctors' offices and then count on them to inform and educate their patients? Or are you going the Cologuard route, as you mentioned, and trying to sell directly to the consumer such that they ask for this test or product, depending upon which one you're talking about?
Yeah, in our current platform technologies, all products will be FDA cleared or FDA approved, and we're going to be driving it through the healthcare system through physicians, in part because there will need to be some education on how to use the information that comes back for our diagnostic test. And for the other products, it's actually a new chemical entity, which will be a drug. It'll require a prescription. And so we'll be driving directly through to the physicians. Now, having said that, I will say that there's a number of different physician channels. And one of the physician channels we're exploring is concierge medicine as a possible early entree into the market with our GB1 test.
Thank you.
All righty, Leah.
Yes, Peter, I'd like to know what are the types of disease that can be avoided or treated by improving gut health?
Yeah, it's a great question. What I would say, we showed the 4 categories of disease: the neurological disease and the metabolic disease, et cetera. What the literature is proving now is there's a strong link to an unhealthy gut microbiome being a contributor to a large number of chronic diseases. The way I look at it and try to simplify it is that your gut microbiome is a component and a major player in your body's immune system. And if it's unhealthy, it could lead to cascading events that could lead to chronic diseases. So I highlighted a couple that have impacted me personally and my family. Those are the ones that we're focused on here as well. But with our lead assets, we're focusing on IBS specifically, irritable bowel syndrome, and surgical site infections as our lead indications.
Fantastic. Tawana, do you have another question?
I do. I'll jump right in. So, Peter, since you're targeting the physicians to be able to deliver this solution to their patients, is this something that's going to be covered under insurance?
It's something that we definitely want to try to get insurance coverage for. With the diagnostic tests, we feel that insurance coverage will give us a much broader opportunity to reach a broader audience. We've already begun discussions with large insurance companies and preparing for the FDA clinical trial that'll give us the regulatory clearance on our diagnostic side. And on our therapeutic side, that's another area where not only do we hope to have insurance coverage so that everyone can have a chance to use the solution, but incremental to just the insurance coverage, we're also looking at how do you actually use the prescription. And the way that ours is used is it's non-disruptive to the current surgeons, or what they call the perioperative process when one goes through preparation for an execution of a surgery. So we feel pretty confident about getting approvals and insurance coverage there.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Florence, what do you think?
Great job, Peter. I do have one more question, and it's about the way that your product is marketed to the physicians, or more so, I lost my train of thought, actually. It's about how your that's what it is, the competitors. So you mentioned in your presentation that there's not a lot out there that focuses on the gut health. What are physicians or patients doing now to figure out what the health of the gut is, or if anything?
Yeah, it's a very good point to discuss. So at the end of the Human Genome Project, they started the Gut Microbiome Project back in 2007. It concluded in 2016. And the original thought was that you could map out the whole gut microbiome, the complex organism it is, just like you do the human genome. The problem is human genome, our genes were 99.9% the same one another. The human gut microbiome, we only have about a 20% overlap of consistency, and we all could be healthy. And so what has existed so far is a large number of companies have produced tests that measure the composition or the picture of what's in your gut using 16S RNA sequencing. And we are happy that that's out there, but we're trying to go a layer deeper on science and make sure we understand not just what's in your gut, because what's most important that we've found is what's functioning properly. So the composition can be different, but we want to know if the people in there are working together to do the right jobs. And so we've just gone a layer deeper on the science, and that's why we're so different. We're different because no one's done this yet, and we've figured out a way to measure the functional health of the gut microbiome.
Thanks.
Fantastic. Leah, what's your final question?
So, Peter, you showed us a very impressive list of partners on your slide deck. Can you tell us maybe how one or two of these partners are truly helping your business grow?
Absolutely. Well, I have to start with the University of Chicago. I mean, clearly it created the foundation for our success. We still have two full functioning labs at the University of Chicago that we don't pay for as overhead, but we partner with them when we have projects specifically. They've also helped us with bringing the technology through the patent procurement process and helping us to commercialize and build the company to this point. And so I would say that the University of Chicago has been the biggest partner and the most important in this mix. And I think the other two that are really critical are the two family foundations that donated $100 million each into the University of Chicago. One was the Dushy Swaff family that built the Dushy Swaff Family Institute. And second were the Pritzker family that also donated $100 million to help build out the Pritzker School of Molecular Engineering. Without any of those components or our ecosystem, our technology don't exist. So I would say those are the three most important core partners that have led to the technology to this point.
Fantastic. Peter, I wonder if you'll indulge me. I'll ask a question. I wonder how you came up with this. What's kind of the origin story for 3 Squared Biosciences, and what is 3 Squared a reference to? I suspect there's that comes from something that I don't understand.
Very, very insightful question. The 3 Squared is really the mere fact that our 3 scientific founders, if you add them together, 1 + 1 + 1 is 3. But when I saw what they were doing and really the opportunity of bringing them together could really accelerate things, and they could really have an exponential output, that's what really drove me personally to think about 3 Squared. So it's really the foundation of our company, the science, and those 3 scientific founders working together to give exponential output.
Now, I want to remind everyone that you can ask questions. If you're on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook, you can just comment to get a question. If you would like to submit a question, if you're watching on television, you can. You're welcome. You can post a question at s4g.biz/question. With that, let me ask our judges if any of you have a follow-up question you'd like to ask.
I do. Peter, what have the biggest challenges been with the FDA approval process?
Nothing with the FDA approval process per se, but one of our biggest challenges on the drug side was the Pritzker School of Molecular Engineering alongside of Argonne National Labs produced an amazing technology, but initially it was very difficult to scale up. And so before we could actually execute the FDA clinical trial, we had to scale the technology. And that's what we've been working on for the last couple of years. Fortunately, Argonne National Labs, in a secondary agreement with us, has made some significant progress, and we have produced enough product now to move into the trial phase. And other than that, I haven't really seen much of a hurdle other than, the trials are long and expensive. Usually, what I would say that's been extremely encouraging is the space that we're operating in with the microbiome focus, as well as we cross over into antimicrobial resistance with our non-antibiotic product to help prevent infections from happening after surgery. There is a large number of ways that the FDA is working to try to fast track or move products that don't have as much risk but could have significant reward to the marketplace through the system with less cost and less time. And so that's been extremely encouraging, especially the recent focus on the space of microbiome, specifically with 2 recent approvals over the last year.
Fantastic. I don't know for sure, Peter, if you can see it there, but we've got a question that's come in from Mike Silas via YouTube. He says, how long has the product been available?
That's like, okay, so there's two product categories that we talked about. The diagnostic test in and of itself has been available because we're using it today as a lab developed test, but we're still refining and making sure when we go to market that the test itself is 100% squared away and people are ready to use it. So I would say that the laboratory test, the diagnostic, is not available commercially, and the drug, we're still working in animal models. We're not in humans yet, so that one's not available yet either. So we are a preclinical company, pre-revenue, and we anticipate the products, the diagnostic product, to be in market in 2026 and well supported, and then to follow a couple years later with the drug.
Fantastic. Well, Peter, thank you very, very much. I want to encourage everyone to consider seriously investing and to visit the Republic page. Chandan, maybe one last time we can put that up. Thank you very much, Chandan. Yeah, let me encourage you to check this out. You can scan the QR code there, or just type it. You just visit republic.com and find 32 or 3 Squared Biosciences. Bad habit. But Peter, thank you very, very much for being with us. We wish you every success with this raise.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to shift gears now, and we're going to take a very short break, but we'll come back and we will continue. Our next pitch will be from Duran Kempel. So stick around at Arbonne. This is going to be a great session.
Raise up to $5 million or $75 million annually with regulated investment crowdfunding. Convert customers into investors and expand your reach. Get expert guidance from Crowdfund Holdings innovators to help ensure success. Contact us at solutions@crowdfund.holdings.
Digital Niche Agency is the top investor acquisition agency. DNA has helped founders raise over 9 figures via regulated investment crowdfunding with a 3-pronged strategy using digital advertising, content marketing, and strategic outreach. Book a call today.
Imagine a world where your investments empower innovative founders, drive sustainable change, and transform communities. At Funding Hope, we connect investors with businesses that prioritize sustainable development in their community. Be an investor with impact at fundinghope.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I really, this is just such a fun thing for me to introduce you to the great people that are running some of these innovative companies. And I want to be clear that the selection process was very competitive. There were some great companies that applied to pitch and aren't pitching today because the competition was so fierce. And so we're excited to bring you all of these. Our next presenter will be Duran Kempel, who is the founder and CEO of Bond. He's also a successful tech entrepreneur. His prior ventures in IT infrastructure were acquired by IBM and HPE for $900 million combined. A Harvard Business School graduate, Duran previously held executive roles at Dell and EMC, and served as deputy commander of a special forces unit. He's really an impressive guy. With that, I'll turn the time over to you. Duran, you're muted, I'm afraid.
Friends, thank you for your time. Bond is a U.S. corporation headquartered in New York, has 2 missions: enhance personal security, but also peace of mind. Let's put a circle around peace of mind. It's not talked about. It's a pervasive world that troubles billions globally. The way that we get our services in the hands of people is by selling to corporations who buy the service on behalf of their employees and their customers. We're talking about some of the largest corporations in the world. You're using their phones, their credit cards, and their sneakers. Let's talk about the problem. We and people whom we love at home, at work, residents of our city and students routinely find themselves in situations that make them feel unsafe. This typically falls into 3 categories. Category number 1, they walk alone at night. 40% of Americans, that's 140 million Americans, say that they don't feel safe walking alone at night. If each one of them feels that way once per week, you multiply 140 million times 52, that's 7.28 billion cases per year. Let's take one of those cases. Let's assume that among us we have a sister. Her name is Rachel. Rachel is 24. She's a professional. She works in one of the high rises in Manhattan. She leaves the office every day at 6 p.m. and then she has a 5-minute walk. She walks to where she parked the car or to the subway or perhaps to her home. And as she leaves the office, she feels unsafe. But it's not yet a 911 situation. Too early to dial 911. If in the parking garage the wrong person approaches her, when does she notice him? When he's 2 cars away? What's the closing time? 3 seconds? 3? Did she complete the 911 call? No. If she has a panic button, should we expect that 24-year-old Rachel, under pressure, is going to push the button? Wrong assumption. Too early to dial 911 until it's too late to dial 911. You might say, well, how many people reach the too late to dial 911? According to the Bureau of Justice, 500,000 women are raped every year in the United States. That was category number 1. Category number 2, all of us, when we're alone in the vicinity of a stranger, think about the 50 million lone workers, real estate agents, delivery people, technicians, all of us in Uber, all of us receiving services at home when we're alone. Third category are children. When they're not under our supervision, we're worried. So all of us parents have one of those 50 free apps that allows us to see where the kids are. Now I look at my phone, I see where my son is. I think he's outside of school. I call him, he doesn't respond. What do I do now? I'm 30 minutes away. Across these categories, over 10 billion cases per year in the United States. Too early to dial 911? In some of those, a large enough number of those situations, it's going to be too late to dial 911. That's the problem. Let's talk about the solution. Bond established a first of its kind paradigm of preventative personal security that lives below 911. For all those 10 billion cases per year where you feel uncomfortable, what do you want? You want somebody to look after you that preserves your privacy, that is professional, that can detect via artificial intelligence and personal security agents something is out of the ordinary. Reach out to you to check if everything is okay. If not, guide you. If not, be able to deter unwanted company. And if it gets to an emergency, orchestrate 911 anywhere in the United States, in the case of Bond, 28 other countries. In order to deliver this solution, we had to invest more than $100 million in technologies in order for this to be massively scalable, tremendously reliable, and affordable. The technology sits on your phone, in our fully automated command centers, and on the cloud. But the heart of the Bond service are the Bond personal security agents. We train them. They're in our command centers 24/7, and they respond to our members within 4 seconds on average via the Bond service on the phones of our members. What distinguishes Bond from any other service in the world are the preventative security services. It means that if Rachel wants somebody to just look after her, she can choose any one of those preventative security services. And
thank you for connecting with Bond. This is Angela. What's the situation?
Hey, Angela, thank you for responding so quickly. I'm safe. I'm just demonstrating to a crowd. I'm going to introduce you to a large screen. Just say hi, everybody. No need to deter anybody. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Go ahead, Angela.
Hi, everyone.
Terrific. I'm safe. Can I disconnect?
You can disconnect if you're safe, and thank you for choosing Bond. We're here for you 24/7.
Terrific. In other words, Rachel clicked the video monitoring button, an agent appears in 4 seconds. The agent can also deter. Let's summarize. This is a proven technology. We've already delivered on more than 1 million security services. The largest corporations in the world are our customers. We signed a deal with MasterCard that intends to offer the services to our 180 million cardholders around the world. We generated 5x growth in 2023. That's $7 million. The market opportunity is huge. I invite you to join me in this worthy mission and to invest. I think that's going to have great financial return. I invested more than $30 million of my own money, and I continue to invest. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Great presentation. We're really, this is, I think all of us can relate to the safety issues here. Let me bring our judges on to have this discussion. But this is really such a powerful app. I'm excited to learn more. Leah, do you want to get us started?
Yes, Darren, you mentioned that some of the largest corporations in the world are offering bond as a benefit to their employee. I'm wondering, why are they doing that?
Great question. I didn't know that, but apparently a corporation in the United States pays on average $2,000 per employee on what is called workplace violence. 80% of workplace violence in the United States is at the hands of somebody who's not an employee. By the way, the percentage is very high in healthcare. I didn't know that. So it's very expensive for corporations when the employees get hurt, other than, of course, the hurt to morale and the moral issue. You lose employees, you lose revenues, then you need to recruit more employees. There's damage to reputation. That's one reason. The other reason is, no surprise, the companies that were first to adopt the technology and offer it to tens of thousands of employees are some of the most advanced corporations in the world. You'd expect them to do that. And I can't name all their names, but I'm guessing that 60% of you have their phone numbers, 80% of you have their sneakers. You get the point.
Fantastic. Tawana, do you want to go next?
Yes. So, I think about the sensitivity associated with some of these calls that come through, right? How are you planning to address the potential challenges related to user privacy, data security, to protect the users?
Terrific. So if we don't preserve privacy, we're not going to be successful. Apparently, individuals are very uncomfortable sharing that they're afraid. I don't want my employer to know that I'm afraid. He might think that I have a judgment problem. I also don't want my employer to know where I am after work, where I live, my life circumstance. That's why employees don't want the service from the from the employer or the government. They want both of them to pay for it, but they want the service from a private sector company, just like an insurance company, that takes care of them, preserves their privacy. So we guarantee privacy up to the point that there is, God forbid, an emergency. Then, of course, we're going to help first responders know what's the situation. We've had to handle some very difficult situations, as you might assume. Now, the command centers are in secured areas. We never advertise where the command centers are because we also need to protect our security agents. Sometimes they're witnesses. The command centers are completely sealed off because the visual medium is very dominant. If you come into our command centers, you see our members with pajamas, as a metaphor, on the screens. All the data is recorded for evidentiary purposes, encrypted, goes into the cloud. Nobody has access. If we need to do a post-activity review, the post-activity review itself is being recorded, encrypted, goes into the cloud. And of course, in order to be accepted by all these corporations and now also cities, we go through very stringent data security, data protection reviews. And I think that we use best-in-class technologies and processes in order to protect the data and privacy. Thank you for the question.
Oh, thank you for the answer, sir.
Florence, what do you want to know?
I'm interested in how you have approached the objection, if you've received it at all, around I'll just phone a friend or I'll call my mom, the things that people normally or may do now. When they feel unsafe, they get on the phone and call someone they know, as opposed to a call center. Have you had that objection? And if so, what's your response to it?
Yeah, the main objections or concerns that people voice are around privacy and payment, which is great to have these large corporations pay for the service. Whenever somebody says, what about using my dog, my gun, my parents, my friends, we say there are a lot of options. Use these options. But I say something that is very important. The perpetrators do not want to be on cameras. They're not big heroes. So even if you're walking alone at night and you don't have Bond on your phone, but you have somebody on video, that is a deterrent. I'm not going to promise that it's going to work in all cases, but that's a good thing to use. That said, you're in better hands if the person who's on the call with you is not a volunteer. You know that he or she's available in 4 seconds. They're trained to handle those situations. These are not easy situations. And if you see how our agents handle them, you'll see that they're very empathetic, but they can turn it on. They can say, Doron, step away from the door, move to the right, move to the left, you get it. So we respond in 4 seconds. We are connected to first responders. Let's assume that I'm a resident looking after my son or my father, and he's a city away. He suddenly drops off the line. I have to dial 911, right? I get one of the 6,000 911 PSAPs, public safety answering points, that is next to me. I don't get the 911 center next to my father, my son, my daughter, or my friend. I get my own PSAP. And now I need to convince them that there's an emergency. Good luck with that. All that has happened is the line dropped. In other words, I don't want people to worry, but there is a big difference in terms of, I'm moving to a metaphor, who performs the surgery under pressure. And there's a big difference. So the summary is, we never say that other options don't apply. We just say we're there 24/7 with professionals. There are other security agents. When we handle a case, there could be 4 or 5 security agents handling it. Somebody's speaking with the police. Somebody's speaking with a member. Somebody's speaking with other resources that we can bring to the situation. I think that we all want that level of expertise dealing with our dear ones. Hopefully that was helpful.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Excellent. We have time for one more judge question. Who wants to go? Who's got another question?
I actually, go
Go ahead, Florence. Go ahead.
Leah, do you want to go?
All right. Looks like it's going to be me. You already have contracts with some of the largest corporations in the world. So I'm wondering, what is the plan to grow further from there?
Well, there are 4.5 billion people with smartphones. We want all of them to have Bond on their phones. So we're going to have our work cut out for us for the next 20 or 30 years. So this is a novel technology and approach. When we introduce the technology to chief security officers of large companies in the world, like I assume all of you on the call, the initial thought is, okay, it's another panic button, I'm not interested, or it's another app that shows me where the kids are, I'm not interested. I need to get them to pay attention, understand that this is a completely different paradigm. And over time, we're going to create this momentum, and then building the platform further, recruiting more security agents. Remember, we need security agents in order to handle all the individuals. The good news is that if we have all 4.5 billion smartphone users in the world as customers, we're only going to be one of the 20 largest companies in the world. In other words, it's going to take a few years, but it's doable.
Thank you.
Fantastic, judges. Great question. Stick around. We may have time for you to ask a follow-up, but Mia Jameson has asked from YouTube, what kind of experts have you had review this, and what was their feedback?
Terrific question. So at Bond, we don't want to be right. We want to be successful. So early on, I reached out to a lot of individuals. We were very fortunate that some of the foremost experts in the world are advisors, including, in no order of importance, former head of U.S. Secret Service, former deputy director of the FBI, former heads of police in New York, Chicago, Boston, Seattle, France, South Africa. You get the picture. Technologists, people who are experts on domestic violence, on data privacy, on data security. So whenever we reach out to somebody and we tell them what the mission is about, and we ask them to help us, these are wonderful people, and they join us. And wherever we need to, by the way, we also deal with behavioral psychologists whose names you would know. So we are extremely lucky. This is a very worthy mission. It's very easy to get people to volunteer and help us. Thank you for the great question. And you asked, what did they say? They offer their advice. And the product of that advice is this platform that has been in production for 5 years. We've already delivered more than 1 million service requests, including emergencies and life-saving situations. So we know that this works, and we know that people buy it, and the end users love it, and we love the mission.
Fantastic. I'm going to take the liberty of asking a question, if you'll forgive me, Duran, but how are you incorporating AI in this application? And can you give us a sample of some of the other 14 services or other 13 services?
Absolutely. So the services are here in front of us. You can see all of them. Now, let me give you an example of one of the services that's called Track Me on the Go. Hopefully you can see it here. Now, let's assume that I leave my office in downtown Manhattan. I'm headed home to, say, Fort Lee, New Jersey. I click Track Me on the Go. I enter my destination just like you would in an Uber. I tell Bond if I'm walking, driving, ride-sharing, or in a train. And I start my journey. The AI is now going to look after me. That's a metaphor, and is going to detect in a way that humans cannot any anomalies such as speed, route, stoppages, and many more things that it looks at. And as soon as it detects that something is out of the ordinary, a human is now going to reach out to check what's going on with our member, and we will escalate as required. So in order to take care of all these people in a massively scalable manner, we need technologies to do the work. That is one example. There are many other examples. One more quick example. Think about the degree of automation that we want in our command centers for all activities that require great speed and great precision. Who brakes the car today in our cars? Is it us or is it the car? It's typically the car. So whenever something requires great speed and precision, you want technologies to do the work, and there's much more, of course.
Fantastic. We've got a great question that's come in from Mike Silas on YouTube again. He's asking, if this is a subscription model, what does it cost per month, and how many subscribers do you already have?
Terrific. A great question. It is a subscription model. There are two pricing models. First of all, anybody can download the service right now from the App Store, but the pricing depends on the risk level that we handle. We operate very much like an insurance company. So if John Smith, whom we don't know, reaches out, downloads the service, the risk level is high for us. We don't know anything about him, and we're not going to ask him any questions. The price is $450 per year or $50 per month. If the same John Smith works for a corporation that we know, that reduces our risk by about 2x. The price just to get John Smith or Gina Smith on the service, $240 per year. $240 per year. And that price declines as the volume of users, we call them select users, increases up to 1,000. It gets to about 180. But let's assume that you're one of those giant corporations that I described. You don't want to deal with 1,000 people. You say, give us, Bond, a price for 30,000 store employees. Give us a price for 50,000 home care nurses. And then the prices are significantly lower. We're talking a few tens of dollars per year. So volume determines the price per end user. The other question that you asked is how many people do we have on the platform? It's reaching 1 million, and it's growing very fast. And a lot of the large deals are actually in play. We're actually in pilots with cities, universities around the world. Thank you for the question.
Fantastic. Well, Doron, thank you so much. We congratulate you. Chanda, maybe for one quick minute, there we go. There's the WeFunder link. I encourage all of you to check that out and learn more about the possibility of investing in our bond. We really want to encourage that. We're going to take a break now, and when we come back, we'll be hearing from our next entrepreneur. That will be Troy Helming of Earthgrid. So stick around. You don't want to miss this.
Digital Niche Agency is the top investor acquisition agency. DNA has helped founders raise over 9 figures via regulated investment crowdfunding with a 3-pronged strategy using digital advertising, content marketing, and strategic outreach. Book a call today.
Imagine a world where your investments empower innovative founders, drive sustainable change, and transform communities. At Funding Hope, we connect investors with businesses that prioritize sustainable development in their community. Be an investor with impact at fundinghope.com.
Want to learn from the world's great changemakers? Find your superpower. Subscribe to the Superpowers for Good newsletter at superpowersforgood.com. Make your strengths into superpowers that will change the world. Join the super crowd today. Superpowers4good.com.
Welcome back, everyone. It's my privilege, really, to introduce our next entrepreneur. It's Troy Helming. He's the CEO and founder of Earthgrid. He's a clean energy industrialist and pioneer, visionary, entrepreneur, innovator, and author of the Clean Power Revolution. He has founded companies that have generated billions in economic impact, including 2 unicorns, and invented 2 technologies that have led to more than 172 clean energy patent claims. Please help me welcome Troy Helming to the show here.
Troy,
Hey,
welcome.
thanks, Evan. Hey, everybody. Good to be here. So, yeah, Troy Helming, founder and CEO of Earthgrid. You see here some pictures of some of the competitions we've entered and some of the hardware we've been winning, including Startup World Cup. We got first place in the Silicon Valley Regional Competition, and Pepperdine University Most Fundable Company a couple of years ago. So a little background on me. So I'm a seasoned founder. Earthgrid is company number 8. I've had 1 failure and 6 exits. 4 were meaningful, and 2 of them became unicorns. You also see here American Ninja Warrior. I've been invited to compete on that show multiple times. So I'm an elite athlete, helps me stay in shape and have the energy to do what I do here. So one of the problems we're trying to solve is the grid. Society of Civil Engineers gave us a C- grade, and many are estimating 20 trillion or more to basically upgrade the grid to handle the clean energy transition. Also, our overhead power lines are causing fires. They're literally killing people in California, Canada, Australia, Texas, and so forth. Putting power lines underground means they're 9 times more reliable than overhead lines, and that's according to US utility data. But historically, they're 7 to 20 times more expensive. Well, until now. Earthgrid's got that solution. So why now? Why now is the right time to invest in Earthgrid? Well, you'll see here in a moment, I'll go over into more detail, but we just signed an $18 billion joint venture with Enertech, which is an entity of the Kuwait Investment Authority, the oldest sovereign wealth fund in the world. Weather and climate disaster costs are exploding. Data centers, AI, the solar wind industry, they all need these grid upgrades. Massive capital is coming into climate tech, 5 trillion privately and 1 to 2 trillion of US government capital is available. Our revenue is about to explode. And as a result of that huge deal we just closed, this is the last chance to invest at a low valuation. So what is it? What do we do? So we invented plasma tunnel boring and excavation machines. Here's a prototype that we built about 2 years ago. We're about 8 years in as a company. We essentially create lightning in a tube, and it's like a lightsaber, basically. So we pass air, which is free, over that lightning, and it superheats the air up to 27,000 degrees. And we use electricity and air to turn the rock into sand and gravel. You see the little bits of rock there. I'll show a quick video of a prototype of a tunneling machine as well here. So imagine a robot with lightsabers, up to 10 lightsabers on the front, vaporizing all the rock and soil, and a Mandalorian jetpack blowing out all the little bits of rock out the back. My 16-year-old son helped me with that Star Wars reference there. But we go so much faster and cheaper than other technologies, and it allows us to affordably put our infrastructure underground to save lives and to accelerate clean energy, because we can get the permitting done much faster if it's underground versus overhead. Our products, we're not going to sell these machines. We have a sense of humor. So our 2 products are Boom and Badass. Boom stands for build, own, operate, and maintain. Badass, boring and drilling as a simple service. Think of us like an underground real estate company. We're going to dig a ditch or dig a tunnel, and we're either going to sell it for a profit, or we'll keep the ownership of it and lease out space or charge a toll on all the commodities flowing through. So our technology allows us to bore at speeds up to 100 times faster and up to 10 times lower cost and up to 10 times faster on permitting. Here's some of the economics here. So again, from 5 to 9 million per kilometer to less than $500,000 per kilometer. So that allows us to sell our tunnels for 1 or 2 million per kilometer, make a very nice profit. Over 202 patent claims published globally. Here's a little test tunnel we completed a few months ago. The market's huge. It's a multi-trillion-dollar market. Here's the map of the tunnels we're going to build with the $18 billion of contracted revenue that we have coming in over the next 5 to 10 years. We're approved as a telecommunications utility in 46 states. This is a big deal. What's that mean? Well, it means as a telco, a utility, telecommunications utility like AT&T or Verizon, Comcast, it means we get access to the public rights of way under public roads. So we can put our tunnels or trenches under any public road, and it's a very fast process. It's not guaranteed, but it's close to it. It takes a huge amount of the risk out of the way there. We have an amazing team with a Nobel Prize winner, 2 federal and state regulators, and an amazing track record with our team. We've raised over $56 million. We are raising a $10 million round right now directly in the company. And then we also have the Net Capital crowdfunding, because we want to democratize ownership. We're on a path to be a unicorn in approximately 5 years, as you see there. And that's it. This is world-changing tech. Help us change the world. Let's stop sharing here.
Excellent. That is great. Let me bring our judges into the room here. But Troy, that was a great presentation. Let's see. Got to find all my judges. Got such a crowd here. It's a little bit. There we go. But Florence, do you want to get us started on this one?
Sure. First, this looks pretty awesome, just like Star Wars. But it's also very confusing to someone who doesn't understand utilities, such as myself. So are your primary customers, because you have these contracts to do the underground boring, are your primary customers municipalities? Are they corporations? Who are you primarily selling to?
Yeah, great question. So our top three would be data centers, solar and wind farm producers that are trying to get their solar power into the market, because a lot of solar farms and wind farms can't get built because they're waiting up to 8 years now to get interconnected into the grid. We're a faster solution so they can get their power to market. So data centers who need power, solar and wind producers who want to sell power to those data centers, and utilities.
Fantastic. Leah, do you want to go next?
Yeah, you just said something very interesting, Troy. You said solar farms, data center can wait up to 8 years before they get connected to the grid, and so before they can actually make money. Can you give us more details on how you are solving this problem?
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, I've spent nearly 30 years building solar and wind farms, and that was a pain point for me, and it's why I started Earthgrid, to solve that problem. But the interconnection queues to connect a solar and wind project to the grid, the studies are taking, used to be 1 or 2 years, and then it was 3 to 5 years, and now it's 4 to 8 years. So the way we solve it is by being able to put in a tunnel in 1 to 2 years, because going underground, the permitting is very fast. Overhead, the average time it takes to put an overhead transmission line in the United States is 15 years. That's the average. It's crazy how long it takes because everybody fights it. Nobody wants it going through their community. Underground, we can do it in 1 to 2, maybe 3 years at the most. So we're a faster solution to get that power to market.
Very good.
Great.
I would imagine that technology like this comes with some patents, right? Some protection. Can you talk a little bit about that?
For sure. Yeah. So we have a total of 9 patents or patent families, which cover 202 patent claims. And of the 9 patent families, 7 are published, 2 are pending, and they are published globally. So we're in almost every country. In addition to that, we have over 1,200 trade secrets. And what I mean by that are recipes for each type of rock. We've been testing for nearly 7 years, and other types of trade secrets, air grinder, various things that we've come up with. And then the third area of our defensive moat is we have exclusivity with our key suppliers, meaning they can't sell their high plasma torch equipment to anybody else doing underground construction work.
Wonderful. Very, very smart, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Great. Florence, do you have another question?
Yeah, I was looking at, you mentioned the 18 billion in contracts that you have. What's the payout timeline for that? Is it all in the next 5 years? Is it over the next 45 years? When do you expect those contracts to pay out?
Yeah, excellent question. A lot of that's out of our control because, permitting might be 1 year, might be 2 years, might be 3 years, right? As I was talking about earlier, although in some states like Texas and Oklahoma and Nevada, the permitting is weeks or months. But we have a whole Gantt chart project plan. We think the vast majority of that will be between 5 and 7 years. May take longer than that, may even be shorter than that, but probably won't be shorter.
Excellent. Tawana, do you have another question?
I do. Can you discuss any of the regulatory challenges you faced and tell us a little bit how you navigated those?
Yeah, certainly. So we're based in California, and to complete our first project, we had to go through a pretty rigorous environmental review, and it was the California Public Utility Commission that had to approve that first project. That's not easy. It took us a while, but now once we've done one, it's much easier. And so we've now talked to 22 counties across 3 states, and we've confirmed that because we're a telecommunications utility, we can get that access to the rights of way, and it's a pretty straightforward process. It's called a longitudinal permit. And then in some counties, we also need an encroachment permit. The process takes 12 to 18 months in California, and anywhere from a few hours in some states where it's over the counter, or some counties, I should say, to a few months. That's really the only regulatory hurdle we have is getting the rights of way under the public road, which also includes the permits. And that's it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great. We've got time for one more judge question. Any of you got another question you want to ask? Okay, Leah, go ahead.
So we've seen on your last slide that you already raised an impressive amount of money, 56 million, if I recall pretty well. And
Yes.
you're about to raise a very large round as well after this round. I think it was 75 million or more. I'm wondering if you have any other sources of finance to fuel your growth rather than equity.
Excellent question, Leah. Yeah, thank you. So we've already won our first grant from the United States Air Force. We're applying for phase 2 there. We have 5 more grants we're applying to, and we're working on an application to the Department of Energy for a loan guarantee, which could be a very large guarantee, hundreds of millions of dollars or possibly into the billions. So, and the loan office is encouraging us to apply. So there's a fair amount of that non-dilutive capital. There's also equipment financing, which we already have some, and we're about to get more equipment financing, which is non-dilutive. And finally, project finance, meaning if we get a customer from, say, Amazon, a contract from, say, Amazon or Microsoft, they want power from a solar farm that's 30 miles away or whatever, and we're their extension cord underground that's connecting the two, we can get non-dilutive project finance to build that project.
That's very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is really a cool deal. We've got some great questions coming in from the crowd here. Speaking of crowds, Mike says, congrats on the $18 billion agreement. Is this round of investment enough to get you to an IPO? And how will you cover the operating and manufacturing costs, robots along the way?
Yeah, great question. So the $18 billion agreement does allow us to raise the non-dilutive financing that I was talking about. So your question might have come in right before I answered Leah's question there. But yeah, so we're going to be getting a bunch of equipment financing to build all of our robots and cover the manufacturing costs for that contract. And other contracts that we're negotiating now will be able to also supplement that with non-dilutive. We may or may not raise that big $75 million round that Leah referred to. That's only if our valuation is significantly higher and we're opportunistic about it. But frankly, there's enough revenue coming in from that huge contract that we don't really need to raise more equity. I've put, my wife and I, our family office, have put $13 million into the company over the last 8 years. So we're pretty committed to doing this. And so we don't want to dilute ourselves or any of our other investors. So yeah, we could probably do it without raising that next round.
This is exciting stuff. Let me just remind everyone that if you've got a question for Troy, we've got just another minute or so before we have to go on to our next pitch. So we've got time for just 1 or 2 more questions if you've got any. Troy, I wonder if you could address one question for me. I just wonder if you could give us a sense of the scale potential in terms of the size of a tunnel. Is this a tool that would make economic sense for, tunneling for roads, bridges, or not bridges, but roads and like trains, automobiles, trucks? What are the size limits, large and small?
Right. The smallest we can go is about a half a meter, which is roughly 18 inches. I prefer metric. So half a meter, 1 meter, 2.5 meters, which is 8 feet. And then we have designs for 8, 10, and 15 meters, which are big enough for subway or 2 or 3 lane highways. There's no real limit to the size going up, but there is a limit to how small we can go because the plasma just destroys the rock so fast. We can't go smaller than 18 inches. By the way, I should also mention one question that comes up a lot. I'll just address it. People ask, what do you do with the spoils, or what's left? And we turn it into sand and gravel. The sand we sell for concrete manufacturing. It's quite valuable. And the gravel we can sell for road construction or road base. So we actually can sell our spoils because we don't use any nasty chemicals or lubricants or drilling mud, bentonite, any of that stuff like our competitors do for mechanical drilling and boring. So the spoils are actually a byproduct that are valuable.
Wow.
Great. Another great question just came in from our audience. How do you put the tunnels, how deep do you put the tunnels under the roads?
Yeah, so that'll depend on the engineering firm that we hire and, whoever controls the road, so county, city, or state. But typically, we're thinking about 3 to 5 meters deep. That's 10 to 15 feet deep. And so we're in the rock and we're below the spaghetti of all the other infrastructure that might be closer to the surface.
Okay. Fascinating. How long would it take you to do a mile under a suburban street?
So we've been testing, as I mentioned earlier, for about 7 years in thousands of tests over 100 different types of rock and geology. We've tested at speeds of up to 1 kilometer per day. So a mile is 1.6 kilometers. So it's possible we could do that in 2 days, a mile in a day and a half to 2 days. That'd be the top end. If it's very difficult geology, it might take a week.
Wow.
And by the way, that's over 100 times faster than pretty much anything else that's out there.
Wow.
It is remarkable. Now, we got to ask, and forgive me, guys, but how does this compare to what Elon Musk claims to be doing with his boring company?
Yeah, sure. I respect Elon Musk. I've been driving a Tesla used to. He's kind of gone off the rails, but I've been driving a Tesla now for 12 years. But the boring company could be a formidable competitor. However, they actually reached out to us and they wanted a proposal. So we've given them 2 proposals to help them in hard rock situations and potentially other things. But they're using conventional tunnel boring machine technology. They've made some clever enhancements to it, so it's a little faster, it's a little cheaper. But they aspire to someday be as fast as a snail. We are already 50 to 80 times faster than a snail. And we don't use any of the nasty chemicals.
Wow. This is remarkable. Well, Troy, we really thank you for taking the time to be here. We want to wish you success with this. And I want to encourage everybody who's watching to check out, to visit Net Capital. Here's the link. Scan that QR code if you've got your phone handy and check this out. This is really an intriguing investment opportunity. I want to encourage you to check it out. We're now going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll be taking a look at our 4th and final pitching company, Hearthstone Farm. So stick around. You don't want to miss this. It's going to be great.
Thanks.
Digital Niche Agency is the top investor acquisition agency. DNA has helped founders raise over 9 figures via regulated investment crowdfunding with a 3-pronged strategy using digital advertising, content marketing, and strategic outreach. Book a call today.
Imagine a world where your investments empower innovative founders, drive sustainable change, and transform communities. At Funding Hope, we connect investors with businesses that prioritize sustainable development in their community. Be an investor with impact at fundinghope.com.
Want to learn from the world's great change makers? Find your superpower. Subscribe to the Superpowers for Good newsletter at superpowersforgood.com. Make your strengths into superpowers that will change the world. Join the super crowd today. Superpowers4good.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I really am excited to introduce you all now to Dan Kaplan, Farmer Dan, as he likes to be called. He's a lifelong meat lover whose favorite meal is a good burger. Founded Hearthstone Farm due to his distrust of supermarket meat. Aspiring to be a farmer from his childhood in Kansas, Dan achieved this dream after a 45-year career as a serial entrepreneur. He has founded, built, and operated and sold companies in technology, media, marketing, and green energy sectors. Now he's a farmer. Dream come true. Dan, we're excited to have you on the show. Welcome. We're thrilled to have you. Where did I hide you? Dan, there you are. Sorry, Dan. I apologize.
I was hiding out in the pasture there.
We're thrilled to have you here. Welcome. Let me invite you to take it away here.
Great. Well, thanks, Devin. I appreciate the introduction. As Devin mentioned, I'm called Farmer Dan, and y'all ought to call me that because that's what people know me as. But like he said, before I was Farmer Dan, I was serial entrepreneur Dan. I've spent 45 years being an entrepreneur, built a bunch of companies, sold them, and the exits added up to over $300 million. You know, I loved my career and I was good at it, but to be honest, there was something missing. And to understand that, if you don't mind, I'd like you to travel back with me nearly 60 years. My family was living in Kansas at the time. I was 10 years old, and my best friend, David, lived 2 doors away. And every Sunday after church, David and his parents would drive out to visit his grandparents on the farm that his ancestors had homesteaded a century before. And one Sunday, he invited me along. And for the next 3 years, until my family moved away, I went with him every single Sunday. Now, the farm wasn't prosperous. This was in 1961, and the old farmhouse that they had still didn't have running water. I loved going there. I loved helping out with the chores. But you know what I really remember is this, the food. We had dinner in the afternoon at a big round table in the middle of the kitchen. I had never tasted food this good. It was fresh, right from the farm. You know what I especially remember was the chicken. It was killed that morning. It was that fresh. And it was so good, and it was so flavorful. That childhood experience left me aspiring to be a farmer. It was like an itch that wouldn't go away. And so 10 years ago, after I'd sold my last business, my girlfriend and I bought a farm in Maine. That first year, we bought 5 cows. And we followed all these regenerative practices. We moved them every day to a new pasture. We didn't apply fertilizer. The first year, 4 of the cows got pregnant, and we ate the other one. And man, was she delicious. We shared the meat with friends and family, and they all said the same thing. So the next year, we bought more cows and started selling the meat. Well, one thing led to another. And like I said, I'm a serial entrepreneur. My team and I decided a year ago, we've got a big opportunity here to build not just a big business, but a true alternative meat supply chain that'll make a difference in something so fundamental and so existential as the food that we eat. So, just want to make sure my slides are visible there. We have, let's see, do I need to do something? Let's see. There we go. So in a year, we've really built this business. We're going full steam ahead. We have 17,000 customers, 50 partner farms. Our sales this year will be $5.8 million. Every single week, we're fulfilling 750 orders. We're up. Our sales are up this year over 150% year over year. Just trying to go to the next slide. Let's see. So here's the problem right here. Bacon, meat, any kind of meat. It's in these kind of quarters. If consumers saw this, they wouldn't buy bacon, right? These animals are in inhumane conditions. They're shot full of antibiotics and growth hormones, and it's just not right. They're looking for choices. They're getting wise, and we're seeing this in our sales and in crazy demand that we're experiencing with our business. What do? We source directly from farmers that we vet and curate, and we sell directly to consumers. In other words, we're bypassing the meat supply chain, and that meat supply chain is dominated by the big four meat producers. All of our meat from family farms currently in the Northeast, no antibiotics or growth hormones. The livestock's raised in inhumane conditions. And as you can see in this picture, I am one of the people who goes and makes sure that's the case. I mentioned our sales are skyrocketing. Last September, as an example, we did under $200,000. And this year, we already at $600,000. A lot of reviews. We currently serve only 15 states. And we have an experienced team. We've launched a crowdfunding opportunity. And just to wrap up, we're bringing change to the meat supply chains, change that's healthy. And we invite you to join us as a co-owner of Hearthstone Farm.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Great presentation. Great presentation. We're really thrilled to have you here. Let me bring our judges into the room now so that they can ask you some questions. Maybe we could begin with Tawana. Tawana, do you have a question for Dan?
I do. Farmer Dan, first of all, well done. I'm a meat lover, so you won my heart with some of those images.
Wait, Tawana, I've got a ribeye steak with your name on it here.
Don't play with me, Dan. Don't play. So you're in 15
How about
states.
a filet?
See, you're in 15 states currently. What's the plan for expansion, and how do you maintain your values as you grow?
Two great questions there. So we currently ship from our own fulfillment and warehouse here in Maine. But in order to expand nationwide, we'll be utilizing third-party logistics companies that we've already started working with, so that we can get a center in New Jersey and a center in Salt Lake City that can serve all the different parts of the country. And so we're setting those up as we speak. In terms of the values, which are really to kind of work with smaller farms, there's so many farms out there that are struggling and trying to find a way and are committed to quality. I think that absolutely we have to, that's a key. If I think about what's our challenge, it's maintaining the quality and the standards, because that's really what we're here for.
Very good. Thank you.
Sure.
Leah, how about you? You got a question for Dan?
Yes. So Farmer Dan, you showed us a very interesting slide where we saw that in 2023, revenue growth was pretty flat, whereas in 2024, you grew your revenue pretty impressively, 154%. I'm wondering what changed between 2023 and 2024 so you could really launch the business that quickly?
The primary thing was an investment in marketing. So we are spending around $70,000 a month right now on advertising, primarily on Meta and Google. We've been able to get our customer acquisition costs. We're quite pleased with them. They run around $65 to $70 per customer. And important to mention there is that our lifetime value for our customers is north of $700. So, and for many of them, it's over $1,000. About 60% of our business is subscriptions, and subscription customers are over $1,000 lifetime value. So we can spend that $65 relatively easily, and we think it's scalable. Like I said, we're gaining around 900 new customers a month right now.
Impressive.
Yeah. Florence, what do you think? What would you like to know from Farmer Dan?
Yeah. Hi, Farmer Dan.
Hi,
you mentioned that the revenue, I think, for this year was 5.8 million, or that's what you're on track to do. Is that for your company solely, or is that money that is now rev share amongst your partners? And if it's not rev share, how do you pay your partners or the other farmers that you work with?
Right. So yeah, we buy wholesale from the other farmers. They are our partners, and we work closely with them. But the relationship is that we're buying their goods and we're selling their goods. So the $5.8 million is our revenue. But really important, at least to me, is that we're paying our farmers significantly more than they would get in other markets. Farmers get 14% on average of the food dollar, which is ridiculous. They're the producers. We're right now we're paying around 40% of our revenue to the farmers. So I think that's a big part of it. We're really trying to kind of both serve consumers and farmers, and that's a win-win.
Thanks for that.
Fantastic. I wonder, Leah, if you've got a follow-up question for Farmer Dan.
Yes, it's actually the first time I'm hearing that customers are buying fresh meat online. Can you tell us, who are your typical customers? Who are the people jumping into this new way of buying meat?
Yeah, so really fueled by the pandemic, right? When there was a meat shortage, people went looking for like, well, where am I going to get my meat? And so I think that changed a lot of consumer habits. And really what we're seeing, 55% of the customers that we're gaining were previously buying meat at a supermarket. And I think what's happening is that consumers are becoming increasingly aware of what that meat has or doesn't have and the conditions those animals were raised in. And they're willing to, we're really good at shipping meat. It's like we take a lot of pride in that, and it's going to arrive at your door in great, condition, because people are nervous about it. Right. So I think that consumers are becoming increasingly aware of that. And, as they're buying groceries, as they're buying other things online as well. So we have some competitors that are doing really well that are helping us by, marketing themselves as well.
Excellent. Florence, do you have another question?
Yeah, it's about the expansion opportunity. So I also love meat, as Tawana does, but there might be those who are also looking for like veggies. And there are some competitors out there that do that. Is that a market that you're looking to get into, or are you solely meat focused?
So absolutely, we're looking for and have already, for instance, we sell, there's a company in Maine that makes gluten-free pies called the Maine Pie Company. We sell their pies. We sell soups from a company called the Hurricane Soup Company, and they use our ground beef in it. So we're looking for, extensions that fit. And absolutely, I think the next one for us is an obvious one is seafood that we're working on right now, that a lot of our customers have asked us for. But, kind of like, is it butter? Is it desserts? Is it things that all have a kind of a story to it? That's what's really important, that it's sourced, from someplace that isn't a factory.
Great. Tawana, do you have a final question?
I do. What role does technology play in the farming practices, if any at all?
Technology is everywhere, every day, in all of it. I think there's a lot of kind of, what should I call it? Monitoring technology that we use, with all of the farms. Things as simple as watching the weight of the animals as they grow. There's a new device, for instance, that allows farmers to use their phone to determine the weight of their animals, right? That's like really, really helpful. And of course, our business is completely technology driven.
Very good. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Excellent. We've got some great questions now coming in from the audience. Let me go to Jimmy John. He's asked a trifecta here, but let's go one at a time. He says, is your goal to go nationwide like the other meat shippers like Butcher Box?
So Butcher Box is a national operation that is basically buying commodity product and kind of marketing it as somewhat better. That has really, we would like to be nationwide to serve customers everywhere, but it's really critical. There's no purpose for us being in business if we're not sourcing from the farm and from farms that meet our standards. And so just buying commodity meat that you sell to a consumer, that's not the business that we're in. Should I answer the other questions?
Well, let me read them just so that everyone can hear them. But would you ever sell to the big four meat producers?
No. What would be the point? I mean, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be dismissive of the question. No, because that would be, one of those big four is owned by a Chinese family, another's owned by a Brazilian family. They are the problem. We are the solution. No.
Okay. Excellent. And then the final question he asked out of this trifecta is, will you bring in supply from overseas?
No, there's no need to. Butcher Box, for example, buys all of its grass-fed beef from Australia. It makes no sense to me. I don't even get that. There's, why we would import meat into the United States, which we are doing, but we're not going to do that. That's contrary to kind of the core mission that we have.
Excellent. Jimmy's asked a whole other set of questions now. He says you'll need additional suppliers to grow. How will you manage all the farms to make sure they're following your standards?
With team members who put eyes on that farm, who ensure that they're meeting all of our standards. We've already expanded to 50 farms. We can expand to more. We go and visit them. We spend time there. We need to build our team. Obviously, that's part of our fundraising. But we've hired people on our team who have done this in different capacities at other, places. So we've really built a system for really understanding what farms are doing and that they're meeting our protocols. One more thing, we require them to, fill out an affidavit and sign that the animals haven't gotten antibiotics or growth hormones.
Excellent. Now, we've got another question that's come in from Ralph Mann, and I think we just have time for you to answer this, but he says, do you find that many of your investors from your crowdfunding campaign are actually customers?
Almost 100%. I think we have 305 investors so far, 275 or so were customers. It was such a gratifying and really neat experience to see that happen. These are people who believe in us, and they're the owners, or at least co-owners. And so I think crowdfunding is great when you have loyal customers who really believe in you, and that happened to us.
Fantastic. Well, Dan, thank you very, very much. We're going to kind of step into the next phase of our presentation here, and so I'm going to we're going to take a quick break, but I want to invite everyone to take a minute to take a look at the Start Engine campaign. You can scan the QR code there with your phone. Or just visit startengine.com and search for Hearthstone. You'll find the offering there and be able to learn more about all the details so that you can better understand this offering. It's a really intriguing offer. I'm sure that you can appreciate. So I encourage you to check it out. We're going to take a quick break now, but when we come back, we'll continue our discussion and we'll go to our award selection. So you'll be able to see in real time live while we're watching who the award winners are tonight. So stick around. You don't want to miss it.
Digital Niche Agency is the top investor acquisition agency. DNA has helped founders raise over 9 figures via regulated investment crowdfunding with a 3-pronged strategy using digital advertising, content marketing, and strategic outreach. Book a call today.
Imagine a world where your investments empower innovative founders, drive sustainable change, and transform communities. At Funding Hope, we connect investors with businesses that prioritize sustainable development in their community. Be an investor with impact at fundinghope.com.
Want to learn from the world's great changemakers? Find your superpower. Subscribe to the Superpowers for Good newsletter at superpowersforgood.com. Make your strengths into superpowers that will change the world. Join the super crowd today. Superpowers4good.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I've got a little excited here. I'm going to pull this down for just a second, but we are going to start a 10-minute window here shortly for you to vote. So you can jump the gun if you want it. Visit s4g.biz/vote, s4g.biz/vote. But I'm going to bring in all of our pretty much everyone here to join in this discussion. We're going to have a little bit of administrative mayhem, but so forgive us. We got a lot going on. But let me explain what's going to happen in the next few minutes. We're going to, let's see if I got all the judges. Shannon, let's take that overlay down for just a minute while I figure out who's on first. Thank you, Shannon. I appreciate that. Let's see. I'm missing a judge. Where did I put? There's Florence. Okay, so we got all the judges, and now we got all the entrepreneurs. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, okay, we're all here. Forgive the mayhem, but we got a big group today and a lot going on. We're excited. So let me describe process here for the last segment of the show. So first off, we're going to set up a timer and give you, our audience, 10 minutes to vote, and you get to choose the Audience Choice Award. We call it the Super Crowd Award. While you're voting, we'll give each of our presenters an opportunity to give us a 1-minute follow-up pitch to tell us why we should vote for them and why we should invest in their business. After each has taken their 1-minute opportunity, then we'll turn the time over to our judges to deliberate. They'll be choosing the Judge's Choice Award. They'll be deliberating publicly. When we're done, then Shannon and I will announce the selection of the Super Crowd Award from the crowd. So, wow, this is going to be great. Let me get the timer going. Shannon, if you put that link back up, thank you very much. You can scan that QR code or vote, but let me add the timer here, and the timer is now running. You can vote at s4g.biz. And Shannon, we got the link in the timer, so you can take the overlay down. But again, everyone, you can see the URL for voting at s4g.biz/vote. I encourage you to go there. Now, let's take a minute. We'll give. Let's start with. Let's go in reverse order. So, Dan, let's start with you, Farmer Dan. Give us 1 minute on why we should invest in you and why we should vote for you as the Super Crowd Award winner.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. And, as I mentioned in my presentation, I've been a serial entrepreneur and done a lot of different businesses that have been really satisfying. But nothing, I can tell you, really has come close to the business that I'm in which is, getting people good food and helping farmers. And, for my life, at least, that's what's really important. Building a big business, using the skills that I've developed as a serial entrepreneur and making a difference. That's, if that's something that appeals to you, as an investor, as something you want to own, I think we're a really good opportunity to kind of make a difference in the world and build a big business at the same time. And what could be more important than the food we eat?
Excellent. So thank you very much, Dan. Now let's going backwards. Let's invite Troy to come back up. And Troy, why don't you take a moment here to explain why we should be voting for you and why we should invest.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. I guess my picture's not coming up here, but I'll go ahead and share. So, I mean, I've built some big companies before, and Earthgrid's going to be the biggest company that I've ever built. Look, when we closed this deal and announced it last week, $18 billion of revenue coming in, pretty much all of our advisors were saying, close the round, don't take any more equity. And we could have, but look, our valuation is really low right now relative to a company that just landed such a huge deal. And we want to give an opportunity for, everybody, again, democratize the ownership of utilities and infrastructure and get in on this opportunity before our valuation skyrockets. Because look, I want to build a movement, not a company. And I want an army of investors helping us and supporting us and being advocates for projects that we're going to be building all over the world. So go on Net Capital and invest and vote for us today. Thanks.
Great. Now, our next will be Duran. Duran, do you want to take a moment? Let's see, Duran, maybe you're muted.
Is worthy of solving. It touches all of us and or the people that we care about the most. The problem will also result in a great financial success. The product and the technology are proven. We've handled more than 1 million cases, including life-saving situations. The largest companies in the world are buying the service for their employees. We grew 5x year over year in 2023. We are at $7 million of revenue 2023. The opportunity is massive. We've got the technologies. We see no competitors that we can speak of. And I welcome all of you to join me. I've already invested $30 million of my own money, and I'm going to continue investing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, Duran. Okay, we're back to our very first presenting company with Peter. We'll go to you now.
Thank you. You should invest in 3 Squared Biosciences because of our innovative science, our 2 platform technologies from the University of Chicago, our experienced leadership and strong team, former J&J and Abbott executives, 3 scientific founders that are gut microbiome world experts. We have a differentiation and competitive advantage with category defining technologies. And we have, just with our lead assets, very large market opportunity of 19.4 billion total available market and growing, and peak year sales projections at 6.8 billion for our platform technologies lead indications. And then also because our strategy is, from the business perspective, to reduce risk and increase reward and create exit optionality for our investors. One example of this, to mirror what our company is doing, is Prometheus, $0 in sales, 1 phase 3 asset, just sold to Merck for $10.8 billion. That should be a good model of a 200x ROI for their initial investors. That's what we're looking at. Thank you.
Fantastic. This is great. I'm going to, just so our judges can deliberate in fake privacy, I'm going to take our pictures off the screen here while our judges deliberate. Of course, everyone can hear you. You're on television, but but we'll give you the stage. We'll give you the floor. So deliberate away.
I'll just start by saying that all of these gentlemen have done an amazing job building these empires. I've done the Super Crowd event now, been a judge for 3 times. We've never had innovation like we have tonight. And so congratulations to all of you. Obviously, you make our job really difficult tonight. But I'll just jump in and start. You have 3 Squared Biosciences that's leading the industry in gut health. Then you go to our bond, right? Who's literally saving lives, right? I am a New Yorker, born and raised. I am Rachel, right? The young me walking the streets of New York, being scared many times, right? Before there were cell phones and cameras, right? and just not having the confidence that I was going to make it to my destination safe. And now to know that the Rachels of today have someone they can call, there is that ability for them to get home safely and still live life and have fun and not be worried about that. Then you go to Earthgrid, who, we always hear about there not being any more real estate. Well, Troy said, yes, it is underneath the ground, right? And he's going to monetize that. I mean, how amazing. And then you go to Farmer Dan, that's keeping us healthy, right? So we don't have to worry about 3D printed meats and all of that foolishness that goes on in the world, right? I don't know what we do, guys. I don't know how we make this decision. Florence, I think you're on mute.
I agree that it is super hard. The fact that they're so different, but they all have sort of this same impact, or not same impact, but an impact in their respective industries. I think the thing for me that stood out the most was with Earthgrid, that ability to show where the revenue is coming from over the next 5-7 years. It's not a guess, it's written, right? Or, when you have those kinds of contracts, of course, anything can happen. But the fact that it's there as opposed to working to get those customers over the next 5 to 7 years, I think that was the thing that really struck out to me among them all. I think the good thing about this, though, is we can invest in all of them. Like, right. I don't have to choose that part. And so that's super exciting to me. But that, for me, that was the thing that struck the most out of all the presentations, that already have that money sort of in the bank. Of course, when you're talking about those kinds of things, it's not in the bank, but that really struck a chord for me.
Good point. Oh, you're on mute too, Leah.
Like to start my opinion with a disclaimer. The fund I work for, King's Crowd Capital, already invested in Arbonne and Earthgrid. So obviously I've reviewed these companies, I've pitched them to the team, and I can tell you, I remember being 17 years old and being followed at night. Hopefully nothing happened to me. As Doran said, it was too early to call 911, but I wish I had an agent with me on the phone. So that's definitely solving such a pain point. And talking about pain point, one of the reasons why we invested in Earthgrid is because the transmission line backlog right now is as big in terms of energy capacity as the current US grid, which means we're about to double our energy capacity, but we don't know how to do it. And Earthgrid is the solution. So that's definitely a must-have product. So I'm very excited about these 2 companies, but I've learned today about 3 Square Bioscience and Farmer Dan, which are also offering great solutions. I'm very excited. Like Florence said, just put the money in every one of them, and you don't have to choose.
What I'll also say too is the thing that got me about Hearthstone is that I have family who lives in Des Moines, and they buy a cow every year that's butchered and whatever for them. And I've always wanted to do that. But to me, living in the city, because I live in Chicago, I was like, I could never do that. I don't live in Iowa. I don't know the farmer. So how could I do that? So the fact that he's found a way to bring it to me, and hopefully we'll also be able to add fresh vegetables and all of those other things to season and garnish the meat. That's super interesting to me. I think there's a wide market for it, especially the fact that they don't do the same things as the current competitors on the market do, right? Because that's the thing about food. Like, you never know where it's coming from. And I'm at the point in my life where I want to know where I want to start growing my own stuff, because I don't trust the man, as it were. And so this is a way to really get around that and solve that problem for many, not just me. So that part also is super interesting. I think there's a large market for people who are really going to start caring, like, where exactly their food comes from. And if you can see that straight line from point A to point B, it's going to really open up the market for Hearthstone, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And the fact that Dan and his team are saving small farms, right? You think about that too, right? American farmers are struggling right now. And now to know that they have a direct line to the consumer through Hearthstone is wonderful.
Yeah.
It really is. I think we got to start narrowing it down, ladies.
Okay. All right.
Let's eliminate one. Just start easy.
I would say that I really like the three squared story about, like, saving lives and doing that. I get caught up in the medicine behind it and understanding exactly what it works. I when he brought up the example of the Cologuard product, I would never use that. Like, it that sort of, I like how they're going through physicians, but still to have that sort of link to me. I think there needs to be a better sort of explanation as to how it works. And maybe that's a conversation for the physician to have with the patient, because, and seeing as that his path, that makes sense to me. I just don't know how revenue comes from that, if it's going through the physician and not to the client specifically. Maybe it is the insurance, but I didn't get how that company makes all of its money.
That's a good point. For me, with Three Squared Biosciences, I think about the impact that the other companies are making, right? And not that the gut health is not a huge impact, because it is, right? Many of us have issues and we don't even realize it's the gut that's causing it. So it's definitely important. But when I think about the millions and billions, in some cases, when we look at some of these other companies, of people that are going to be impacted, for me, Three Squared Biosciences does the least of that. And if I had to say, narrowing it down to three, who we would get rid of in the first round.
I see what you mean. I still think Three Squared Bioscience does have, it's kind of taking us on a path that we don't know, maybe as patients, we don't really take care of our gut health. And so I want to give it the advantage, but I agree that it's harder as investor to actually understand what's the impact, and probably taking a kind of deeper look at the company offline will help investors understand what's the problem that the company is solving. Devin, are you asking us to make a choice right here?
We've got to do that very, very, very soon.
All right. Well, on my side, I've kind of already spoken about it, but if I had to pick only one, I'm just blown away by the solution that Earthgrid is bringing to the transmission line problem. And I think, the climate impact of the company is winning my heart, but I'm also impressed by the three other companies.
Yeah, if I had to pick a winner right now, for me, it's our bond. Again, I can't help but connect to the story of Rachel.
Yeah, that was a hard choice for me too. I think about, but for me, it really comes down to, imagine if you could invest in ComEd, right? Or imagine if you could invest in Nicor Gas, like one of those utilities that all of us use every day. And so Earthgrid to me is that opportunity to invest in a utility that the public never ever gets. I think these other companies, they're great, but they're opportunities that come around generally, like apps or technology or food. But utilities, you rarely get that opportunity. So for me, if I have to choose one, it would be Earthgrid.
That's a good point. My two favorite, definitely Earthgrid and Arbond, right? there's no wrong answer. It really isn't. There's
you
no
can
wrong
invest in all of them.
Yeah,
But
that's
if I
what
have to choose, because that's the job.
Winner, I could go along with Earthgrid. I mean, they are, again, he went underground, guys, right? Going police underground. Like how innovative can you get? So yeah, that's an amazing company. I can get on board with that. Earthgrid as a winner.
Okay. Well, that's that. I appreciate judges your selection. So, Troy, I want to congratulate you on being named the judge's choice. Congratulations to you. I'm happy for you. That's a big deal. These are smart, genuine experts.
Thank you so much.
And so kudos to you. Congratulations. While I've got you here, I will also spill the beans. The Super Crowd Award also goes to Earthgrid.
Oh, wow.
Tonight. So congratulations.
Thank you, everybody.
We've done the 2 awards now for several quarters in a row, and this is the first time one company got them both. And ironically, it was clearly the closest competition we've had. Really tough. And, it was interesting to hear our judges repeatedly say, this was a difficult decision. Thank heavens we can invest in all of the companies. So let me bring back the entire horde here. I want to congratulate all of you and thank you all for the time that you've invested to be here with us tonight. I want to thank Chandon again for his time. In fact, Chandon, let me pull you in here for a second. Chandon works in the background there, and he's just been diligent all night, keeping us going, keeping us organized. Judges, I want to thank you for your time and attention. The judges have spent hours and hours and hours and hours reviewing the proposals, deliberating over who, because we had a lot of applications. They had to review all of the applications, choose the companies that would present tonight. Again, I've said it before. Let me reiterate. There was a tremendous competition just to be here on the show tonight. And so it means a lot just to be participating. All great companies. So the judges spent hours screening and then hours reviewing. And of course, we did kind of a dry run rehearsal mentoring session yesterday. So the judges have really spent a lot of time. I thank you for that. And I congratulate all you entrepreneurs for the success you're having and wish you every success in the great work that you're doing to make a difference in the world. And we certainly want to see you succeed. I want to reiterate the invitation to our audience to visit and learn more about the offerings on all of their crowdfunding pages. If you visit the supercrowd.com, or excuse me, superpowersforgood.com right now, you can see more information, including all the links that's there. So again, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to be here tonight. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and bid adieu and click the button to run the outro. So thanks, everybody. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.